Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello. Let me start my presentation. First, my name is Niavo Landihajaina. I'm based in Madagascar. It's in Africa. And I worked during about 6 years in agriculture. So let me just show you my work experience. I'm an agronomist graduated from the first high school of agronomy in Madagascar. After my studies, I started my career at EcoCert. It's a certification body, specialist in the certification of organic and especially organic standards and other sustainability standards. And I also work as a freelancer in supporting different agricultural companies, mainly in certification, quality assurance, and agribusiness. In this presentation, I will show you my work experience, mainly related to certification and audit. So, the plan of my presentation will be, first, I will give you some theory about certification and audit. Then some definitions of standards that I was only involved at EcoCert. Then I will give you some explanation of my mission and practical work as a certification officer and auditor. When we talk certification, there are 4 main points that we need to know: standardization, standard, certification, and accreditation. Standardization is involved. The goal is especially to let companies adhere to the same standard, procedures, and product specifications. Standard, the main definition is from ISO. It's a documented agreements which contain technical specification or other specific criteria to be used consistently as rules, guidelines, or definitions to ensure that materials, product, processes, and services are fit for purpose. So standards are not only used for standardization, but also as guidelines. You cannot example of a standard, organic, sustainability standard, example global gap, GRASP, rainforest, and fair for life. Let's talk about certification. So certification is a procedure by which a third party gives written assurance that a product, processes, or service is in conformity with certain standards that we have talked before. So certification can be seen as a form of communication along all the supply chain, from the crop production until the exportation of product. So the certificate which the certification body deliver will show the buyer that his supplier meets all the standards, which can be more convincing than if the supplier himself had given the assurance. So certificate will let the client get will let the companies get more clients and also show their quality assurance. The certification body performing the certification is called certification body. Example, EcoCert is a certification body which certifies different sustainability standards. Let's talk about accreditation. The certification body should be accredited. But what is accreditation? It's the system of rules, procedures, and management for achieving certification, including the standards against which certification is made and is called the certification program. We can note that only a certification body can implement several different certification programs, and to ensure that certification bodies has the capacity to implement certification program, they are assessed and accredited by an authoritative body. And certification bodies must be accredited by a governmental institute, for example, ISO, European Union, or other entity like USDA. For the case of EcoCert, we can note, for example, that it is accredited by ISO 70065, and also it is accredited by Global Gap for the certification of fruit and vegetables. So let's talk about the standards that I have talked with you before, mainly organic standard, which is the main standard, used by EcoCert. It is the omissions of agrochemicals such as pesticides and chemical synthetic fertilizers. The use of feeds is also strictly regulated, and GMO, genetically modified organisms are forbidden. And for organic standards, we need to check from the crop, handling, and export all the activity to ensure that all the activity follow the regulation of organic standard. Another standard is a Global Gap. Global Gap is a good agricultural practice. It is the internationally recognized standard for farm production. The goal is to provide safe and sustainable agriculture production to benefit farmers, retailers, and consumers throughout the world. It covers different points: food safety and traceability, environment, works health, safety and welfare, animal welfare, includes integrated crop management, pest control, quality management system, and hazard analysis and critical control points. Traceability, let me just explain you what is traceability. It's the point to check and to implement that all the crop productions until the exportation of product is registered. Another standard managed by EcoCert is GRASP. GRASP is a good agricultural practices about passed on social practice. Because for agricultural practice, we don't only check the product, but we also care about people. It is a voluntary farm-level, social, and labor management tool for global supply chains to be used in combination with integrated farm assurance. Producers can assess, improve, and demonstrate their responsible social practices throughout a simple but robust evaluation checklist for 4 main topics. Mainly, we can note workers' voice, human and labor rights information, human and labor right indicators, and child and young workers protection. Let's now move for the audit. Auditing is a systematic, independent, and documented review and evaluation of an organization's quality management system and activity to determine whether quality activities and results comply with a strategic arrangement that is effectively implemented and appropriate to achieve the objectives. An audit is typically conducted by an internal or external quality auditor or audit team at agreed time intervals. Time intervals you have, for example, annual and unannounced audit, ensuring that an organization has a clearly defined system for quality monitoring. Let's now move to the mission and the practical use of this certification and audit. So, the certification process. Let me just show you what we do when we certify a company at EcoCert. First, we send the application form to client. This is the client, for example, we contact us to ask for certification, or also a client that we have done prospection. Then they file the application form and send them to us, and we make an application form review. When during application form review, we check that the activity is eligible for certification for the standard they are requested. And also we check all their activity, and if all the application form are fully filled, then I establish a quotation based on their activity. This quotation will include all the audit time, travel time of audit report, time of certification. And we send this quotation to the client. If they accept it, they sign the quotation and return it to us, and we send contract for them. After that only we can make invoice. When they make payment, we assign the auditor who will conduct the audit and send them the assignment, which include all the audit time and the description of activity of the client. The auditor will perform the audit on site, and I will done the audit report review when he sent me the report to check if all the control points and all the comments are coherent, and if a client is conform, we directly issue the certificate. Otherwise, we ask them to send us the corrective actions, and only after that I can issue the certificate. So let me emphasize these missions of certification officer. Customer prospecting. So during this step, I explain to the potential clients the interest of choosing the certification from EcoCert, give them the guidelines for the regulations, and send them the necessary documentation for its implementation. And I always exchange with them on their activity and if it is applicable to the certification they are requested. Usually, clients ask for a certification that their client is asking for. For example, their client requests the organic certificate, so they need to find it and to comply with this regulation. During all the process, I make communication with the operator throughout the certification process for via email and follow-up by phone. And also, I send the code, verify the eligibility of their activity for relevant scheme, and corrective action reminder. I was involved in the treatment of documents of a certification file all around Africa, Canada, France, China. I also make the review of application. As I talked before, it's about to check the eligibility for the requirements the client is applying. And I plan the audit. I discuss with the auditor with a common date of certification of their availability for the audit, and I send the assignment for them. When the auditor sends us the audit report, I always make the report review. It means that I check the coherence of the report. If the auditor sends me the same document, if the version used is really coherent, and if the auditor has really filled and make audit notes and justifications on his report. And I check the consistency of a report with a requirement for the relevant schemes. I issue a decision of a certification. It means that the client is conform or not from the report sent by the auditor. And if we decide also if the client is conform, if all the corrective actions are sent, and if they are all resolved. During the mission of a certification officer, I also make training and qualifications of initial auditors and evaluations of inspectors of auditors during all their report. I make external relations, training of clients, meetings, fair. For example, International Agriculture Fair in Madagascar. And during all the work, I committed to be confidential, independent, and impartial. This is an example also of a mission of audit report I have done in Madagascar. In Madagascar, the main activity of Global Cap, because I was approved by Global Cap for the certification. So the activity here is the lychee productions that we make audit during November, the period of exportation of lychee. So I go on site at the company site and I check the activity for the client. So I go at the production level. I have a list of producers, and I take a sample, for example, of 5 producers. It means if a company has 25 producers, I take the square root of this 25. It is 5, so I will visit 5 producers. At the production site level, for each producer, I control the reference of a production site, the young plants they are used, and the management of the soil, the use of fertilizers, and the phytosanitary product. In Madagascar, the crop of lychee is mainly traditional, so the producers do not use phytosanitary product or fertilizers. So in that case, we don't need to check this. I also check the application of hygiene rules. For example, if there is hand washing device, equipment, and if there is sanitary facilities at the crop production. I check also the health and safety of workers, if they had first aid kit, emergency number. It's the number the employee should call in case of a problem of accident, for example. We control the waste disposal if it respects the environment and water management measures taken for environmental conservation. I check also the maximum production quantities for each plot of agricultural land, and I check the harvesting operation. I want to note that the global gap audit should be done during the harvesting, so there is activity on site, and all the employees should be present during the audit. The lychee must indeed keep kept in exclusive bags and covers with banana leaves. It's the case of lychee in Madagascar. This is some example of instructions that companies put on site. These are just examples, but there are different instructions that should be put related to the audit I have mentioned here. At handling station, because I need to also go on the station to control all the production. So I check the process of productions. For example, for lychee, the companies would use sulfur. So as it is an harmful risk for the consumers, the control of the quantity of sulfur applied to the product and to control the storage of sulfur should be controlled and controlled by the client to avoid the risk of contamination. And check also the sanitary facilities and hygiene, packaging and storage areas, the cleaning and disinfection procedures of the premises, pest control, and the control of post-harvest treatments. Sulfur is in operation. For audit of grasp, I show you here to let you know some example of missions that we need to do during audit grasp. Grasp, as I talked before, is a global gap based on social risk. So we check the activity for a social practice of the company. So we check the presence of employee representative, their proof of elections, and also if the employees know this employee representative. We check also complete procedures because employee during grasp can make a complaint if they have some problem on the following of social regulation. We check also the self-declaration of good social practices by the company, the national labor regulations, employment contract. This should follow the legislation and the working conditions issued by the country where the company is based. I check also the availability of payslips and their compliance with the contract. I check also the wages, non-employment of minors. For crabs, it should be under 15 years old. I check and I check also the compulsory education for the children of the employees. If there is children on site, they should be and they should go to school, because here in Africa it is not always followed. But if a company to grasp, they should children should go to school. And then check the recording of working hours and breaks. If they exceed it, there must be an overtime. So, as a mission of certification and auditor at EcoCert, if you are interested, there is some, we can develop freelance skills as a certification officer and auditor.
Sorry, now are you there? Seems like she disconnected. Let's wait for her to come back. And if any of you have any questions, you can use the hand reaction to raise a question or leave a comment in the chat.
Sorry, I think Sorry, I think I got a bit problem of connections.
Yeah.
Okay, can we continue?
Hello.
Yes. So
Yeah.
let me
You can go ahead. You can go ahead now.
okay. Okay. So as I said, as a certification of officer and auditor, we can develop three main skills. First, technical. We can be specialized in the certification of sustainability standards like organic, GRAS, and global gap. We can also develop project management skills. For example, as I have managed and certified more than 1,000 clients based on sustainability standards at EcoCert, I had the opportunity to check and to manage different standards, different companies related to agricultural productions. And I always respect the delay during the treatment of these documents and try to satisfy clients. Finally, we can develop communication skills by conducting events, audits, planning audits, and also answering client requirements. So thank you for your attention during these presentations. And if you have questions or remarks, I stay available to answer to your questions.
Genial. So any of you have any questions, please use the hand reaction to raise a question or leave a comment in the chat. So we have one question from Ivy. Let's see what she has to say.
Thank you, Vienna. My question is, what is the phytosanitary product? What are they?
Sanitary product.
Yes.
Yes. Sanitary product we can use on at the handling facility. It's, for example, disinfection product. Example, chlor. It's a product that we use to remove microbes or viruses that can be occurred at the handling facility.
Okay. Can I get examples of them? The phytosanitary product, is there example like such as what?
An example of sanitary product many use is chlor.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ivy. We have another question from Lerato.
Okay.
It says, how can farmers get seeds from their previous year's harvest? I always find it frustrating whenever we have to buy instead of using the traditional way. Seeds are expensive.
About the cost of certification, the cost of certification really depends on the activity of the clients. For example, if the company has more producers, and has also an handling activity, the cost of certification will be higher than a company that, for example, only have one producer and no handling facility. So it's mainly based on the activity of the clients. Is it clear? Or you can also ask for another questions if it is not very clear.
Any other questions?
Okay.
But Salano has a question. Let's see what she has to say.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you for your detailed presentation. I'm impressed that Madagascar takes this organic food production very, very seriously, because you are going through, you have all the standardization standards and certification of the product, and you even physically check. You go there and see this. The lychee farmers have done everything. They have not used pesticides. So may I know if there are other products where farmers can use pesticides or whatever, chemical pesticides? Do you allow that in Madagascar for certain crops, or almost all the agricultural produce is following that line of organic handling of agricultural
So let me explain. The presentation I have done here is for the audit of the global cap standard. So for the global cap, the pesticides is allowed, and it is allowed, but the client should follow a national regulation during their use. For example, they should not exceed a certain quantity depending of each pesticide they will use. But for organic productions, we have a list of pesticides that that can be allowed, but it is on it depends on the European Union. European Union send a list of pesticides that used and that can be used and at a certain quantity. So for organic productions, I want to tell that some pesticides can be allowed, but there is a quantity and there is a list issued by the European Union or USDA, which accredited EcoCert for the certification of organic standards.
Well, thank you, Niavo. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for your time. And do you want to add anything else, Niavo?
I think no other points. I think that's all what I want to tell you for my presentation. And the certification is the main activity that should be done for agricultural productions to show companies that that quality assurance are followed for the activity. So thank you all for your attention during all my presentation.